Welcome back to the NITE Economics YouTube channel, and today we're going to be looking at where a potential bottom for Bitcoin is. If you're liking the content, please subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and let's get right into the video. So I guess it was last week. I think it was last week I created this video over here. I don't know if you can see my screen. Hopefully if you can, maybe if you can. But anyways, the Bitcoin bottom formula. I will tag it into this video so you could go and check it out after you're finished. Essentially what I was talking about in that video is where I can see a potential for a bottom for Bitcoin being, and I based it off of the 2-week time frame, and I based it off of these prior 3 iterations of this because the history of Bitcoin is not that long, so we only have 3 iterations of that on the 2-week time frame, because before that the 200 simple moving average on the 2-week time frame did not occur. The first time it occurred was in June 2017. So our first bear market with the 200 simple moving average was the 2018 bear market, and essentially based off of that low and 2 other lows after that, the distance between the bottom or the low in the bear market to the 200 simple moving average on the weekly marked the low, essentially that distance. And the 2 iterations after that, so the Corona dump and the 2022 bear market, that low, so the first one, the distance between the low and the 200 simple moving average was about like around 45%. Then the second one was half of that. It was like about 20, not quite half, a little bit more, but it more or less like about half, so about 24%. And then the one in 2018 was about 12. It's like not quite 12, but it was like 11% or so, 11, almost 12%. Yeah, so not quite 12, but this is called 11.5%, but we like to round around here, so 12. So the first one was 44, then 24, then 12. And if this pattern of that distance getting smaller and smaller, not quite touching the 200 simple moving average, but this pattern of with every iteration it becoming essentially half. So the next one would be about 6%. The distance from the 200 simple moving average on the weekly to the theoretical low would be about 6% based off of the last one being 12. Now I'm taking this measurement from today. This is April 2026, April 6, 2026. What would be the distance if today we were to see a bottom in Bitcoin? And if we were to go up 6% from where the 200 simple moving average is on the 2-week, it's the low would be kind of like around 43,000 US dollars. Just call it 44,000 US dollars, but just a little bit under 44,000 US dollars if that were to happen today. Now, of course, the 200 simple moving average is moving higher and higher. As long as Bitcoin doesn't get all the way down to it tomorrow and stay down there for a substantial period of time, it's going to still keep heading in an upward direction for the foreseeable future, and probably forever. I don't know forever, but for a long time. It's going to keep going up into the next couple of weeks, or it's going to keep going up, is what I'm trying to say, essentially, right? So where would that be, depending how long it takes for the price of Bitcoin to get closer to that 200 simple moving average, and it's right now it's going up about $300 every 2 weeks, more or less. You could see that over here in February, I guess. The 2nd of February it was almost 40,000. Then it went up by almost $300, and then after that another $300 every 2 weeks. It's going up about approximately $300, $350, $400 every 2 weeks. So yeah, so if you go forward into like maybe sometime in the summertime we see a low, or maybe even in early fall, Q4. Then that 200 simple moving average is going to be higher, so the theoretical low, the distance from the 200 simple moving average will be higher. But right now I have this box, and I will update it as time moves forward and as we get closer to that Bitcoin low, although I don't think it's there. But what I really want to talk about in this video was not necessarily that. I'm just kind of giving you a recap, but essentially is there's the opposite argument to that, and that's that Bitcoin's already pretty much at the low. There might be another wick a little bit lower, but it's not going to get into this 40,000, mid 40,000, even low $40,000 range. And that's because of the, not the BBWP, but because of this guy over here, the RSI. And essentially Bitcoin is pretty much right now just shy, just slightly, and it's pretty much right at the lows that Bitcoin has ever gotten to in any market. So you could see this low right here. This was in November 2022. This was in the bear market of Bitcoin, the 2022 bear market. Actually, let me double check. Is that a low there? 2022. Yeah, so you see it was this low right here. Anyways, whoops. Let's pull back the RSI. Whoops. So you see this low here, and that's at how come I can't see that? What's happening? That's weird. Anyways, maybe if we shrunk it a little bit. Anyways, so yeah, so it's at here it's at 40.58, and right now the low is 40.99 on the RSI, specifically this guy down here, the RSI. Let me see if we got, there we go, now it's working. So 40.58 over here, this other low over here, 40.73. This one, the bear market before that, so it didn't get as low. But you could see Bitcoin has never, at least here in the 2 week, it's never gotten below pretty much this line over here, and I put it in there for you guys so you guys could have a visual representation. But Bitcoin has never gotten below that in the 2 week time frame. Let's take a look at the weekly. The weekly is going to look a little bit different. It's obviously going to go a little bit lower. So we have this low here in Bitcoin, and we're actually having some bullish divergence there on the RSI, but we have 34.25. That's the low here on the weekly. Maybe we'll remove this guy for now. But the low here is 33.72. So Bitcoin, the RSI could theoretically go a little bit lower than from current price action. Let's make this a little smaller. So we have 33.72. Here we have 34.25. Right, so it could go a little bit lower there on the RSI, on the weekly. So we're going back in history here. Let's see some other major lows, or the lows that essentially mark. It doesn't necessarily mark the bottom, because you could get a lower low, but then you start to get divergence. So the RSI is not going lower, the price is going lower, but the RSI is going up in price. So essentially that's divergence, and that's a bullish divergence. It's usually telling you that the bottom is in. Yeah. Well, the RSI is the bottom is in on the RSI. There's a lower low in price action, but the RSI isn't going to go much lower than that. So the lows aren't. If you get a bottom in the RSI, you can still get a lower low in Bitcoin price action, but the low is close to being in, essentially, is when you get a major low like this on the RSI. So yes, you see this one over here, and I hope I'm clear about that. I'll make some other videos trying to clear this up a little bit more. So we have 35.92 over here, and yeah, so we're pretty much even on the weekly. We're also here pretty much at the all-time, or as low as Bitcoin has gotten. We're just kind of shy of that right now here on the weekly. And let's take a look at the monthly. And the monthly has more to go, right? The monthly, this is the one that I would say has more to go. So it's kind of up in the air right now, because you see here in November 2022, it got down to 44.99, and the lowest has gone so far is 49.21. So I'm personally on the camp of Bitcoin has lower to go, but there is an argument to be made, especially if we look at the 2 week and the weekly, that maybe the RSI isn't going to go any lower, and yeah, we could have some lower lows in price action, but the RSI isn't necessarily going to go any lower, which will be more bullish, which will be bullish for Bitcoin in the short term. meaning that Bitcoin maybe has a turnaround sooner than previous bear markets. I don't think it's going to shoot up right up to the upside. And again, this is the counter argument. I am more of the thought that Bitcoin is going to go lower, significantly lower, and I think the RSI is going to break its trend here on the weekly. I think it's going to create new lows, and my main argument for that is because in this market, I don't think the RSI got as high as it previously has, and it didn't, right? Like before, it used to get really high. In previous bull runs, it used to get really high. Look at this, 98. This one over here is 85, 88.5. Here in 2021, 90. And in this market, the highest it got was in 2024, 83.35. So that's why I think it could actually go lower. But if history, if you're saying like, you know what, in the past it only got this low, so I don't think it's gonna go any lower than what it currently has gone, or where it currently is right now, then you're kind of in the thought that, you know what, Bitcoin has upside from here, and yeah, it's gonna turn around. I'm not of that camp, but I'm just trying to give you the opposite argument, and it's good to think of things that are going to go against what your current ideas are. But again, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows exactly. These are just ideas I'm presenting for you to really think about and kind of have, maybe a little bit of an edge of, where the low is in the market, where things are heading, and then what you could make better personal financial decisions for yourself. Yeah, so I hope you find this information helpful. Again, take a look. This is the RSI for Bitcoin. And you could take a look at this chart yourself and let me know what you think. So if you're liking the content, please subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.